Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infinite Abilities Podcast. I am your host, Nick Yerhart, and we are here to encourage each other to find our own unique abilities. Let's go. All right, everyone. So today we have Blaize Hall, and I can't wait for them to share their story, tell you about how they help people, because it's going to be incredible. So, Blaize, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Blaize. I am a non-binary, polyamorous single parent who offers a one-on-one coaching program and also a group program called the Whole Body Communicator. And it focuses on healing communication in 3 phases. Healing communication with our bodies, ways that our body communication gets disrupted, and we treat that with somatic practices and learning how to listen to our bodies in healthier ways. We
Awesome.
heal communication with our higher self. We use mindset reframes and empowering techniques. And then we heal our communication with others because once we have that communication with our bodies in place, we understand how to work with our nervous system cues, and we have a rock solid mindset. Everything about our communication with others becomes healable and changeable and optimizable. So
I like
that's
that.
yeah, that's the main points of the program.
I like that because it's all able. You ended everything with able.
Yeah.
This is the uh, infinite abilities podcast because we're able to do so much more than we think.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that that is kind of your framework and mine also, understanding that so much of who we say we are and think we are is malleable, moldable clay. We are neuroplastic. Our bodies are always changing. And when we understand that, we know that there's, like you said, infinite abilities, infinite options available to us, no matter
Mhm.
what obstacles we might face individually.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, what got you on this journey that you're on now?
Yeah, I mean, this question comes up in like every podcast, but yeah, I think that and I give almost the same answer every time. I'm
That's good. That's
laughing at
good.
myself. It must be true if I'm saying the same thing every time, right?
Well, it's our story.
Yeah.
It's what got us to where we're at now.
Yeah, I think like most people called to healing professions, I had seasons of struggle, deep struggle, and I didn't have the tools that I needed. And then I went through my own personal transformation, learning all these tools. And then throughout that process, realized this is something I want to put a lot more of my time and energy into besides just my own growth and healing. This is something that I enjoy so much, and I enjoy holding space for others to learn these things as well.
I love that, and I'm basically in the same boat. I had a problem. It was my mindset. I was very negative all the time,
Yeah.
and didn't like who I was, and I
Mm.
went on a journey of self development, and I was like, I gotta share this with everyone because like
Yeah.
people don't know what they're missing out on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Yeah,
I think that's like the entire point, right? Is when we learn, we lend a hand back to others and pull them up with us, and that's the magic.
yep, it is. So you do one-on-one coaching and group. So let's start with your one-on-one. Do you have a specific structure, or do you kind of meet your clients where they're at?
Yeah, it's definitely a hybrid. The specific structure is what I just shared. So we use
Yeah,
a three-prong for, excuse me, words. Hello. My brain, sometimes a squiggly brain. We use a three-prong approach that I just described, which is the lens of healing communication. Because as I went about through the world in different spaces, whether it was artistic spaces, clinical spaces, educational spaces, I saw that there was kind of this overarching issue. And when I looked at everyone's problems, whatever it was that they were bringing to me, I saw the through line here is communication. Because everything we say we want gets blocked by our communication, whether it's how we're communicating those desires to others, or like you were saying, the mindset that we're communicating to ourselves, that we can hijack our own mindset, for better or worse, or our communication with our body, like things are not flowing on a body level. So we're going around the world saying, hey, I want this. Hey, we should do this. Hey, give me a raise. Hey, marry me. But our bodies are not actually supporting those things that our mouths are saying we want. Like, I guess that part of our body is, but like our full, our full embodied
Yeah.
communication is not on board, is not aligned.
Aligned.
We're blocking
Yep.
ourselves with our subtle communications or our trauma patterns that are showing up.
Yep.
So the
Ooh.
one-on-one program is much more hybrid in the sense that I've built this framework and this structure for working with people, and I have all these different tools that we can work with, and it is much more personal, right? Any
Yep.
bespoke one-on-one program is much more personal because someone comes in with something else, on any given week, and I might think, oh, I thought we were going to be working on nonviolent communication skills, and they come in with something else, and it's actually, oh, wow, we need to drop back into the body and do a felt sense practice. There's some, deep trauma wounding coming up, and we need to sit with that before we can start working on our communication strategy.
Yep.
So one-on-one is much more personal. Group is still personal because we have live group coaching, which is kind of like hot seat coaching. So that
Mhm.
gets to be more personalized. And then we have lesson formats where it's more just handing the information and the tools and dissecting it together. So it's
Yep.
part class, part live
I like
coaching.
that. I like that. And you brought up trauma wounds. Let's
Yeah.
talk more about that because we all have them. We
Mm-hmm.
usually are carrying our own traumas that happen when we're children. And I know that I work with my clients, and I I always try to get to that main wound that happened that they kind of shaped their whole life for them. And once you can, discover that, reveal it, and then help them work through it, their whole life opens up.
Yeah,
So I would
absolutely.
love it if you could get some insights on that.
Well, I love first that you said the trauma wounds that we carry throughout our lives, because I think sometimes in pop culture and pop psychology there's an idea of like, we're going to do some really intense breath work and release our trauma, and we're going to
No,
release it and then it's gone.
it doesn't happen like that.
And not really. Like,
No.
yes, we can release it, the stuck energy,
Uh-huh.
and we can release the tension maybe that we're carrying. Like, if our trauma is in a particular flare up, something triggered and poked our wound, some breath work might help to release that stuck energy. And our core woundings are absolutely things that we carry with us throughout our lives. And what changes is how we can work with those and how we notice them getting activated and increase our awareness of it, and how we bring in those tools on a day-to-day basis, and learn to soothe, so that instead of something triggering us into like hysterics or a multi-week depression spiral, you know we can notice, okay, wow, something's getting really activated. I feel this tension in my chest, my breath feels tight. These are the early signs of a panic attack. These are the early signs that something's been activated. How do I tend to this? And how do I get curious about what maybe is triggering me, and what that might be signaling needs to change in my life,
Uh-huh.
or what other, communication I might need to have with certain people to repair, or take accountability for things, etc. So step one, I love that you said that, yeah, we carry it with us and it's how we relate to it that changes. And
Yep.
then step two, I noticed that you said, what is the core wound? I think you're right in the sense that a lot of us do have like the big one.
Yep.
um, and for some of us, there may be a big one, there may be five big ones.
Uh-huh.
And for some of us, there isn't a big one. And it's not as much of like, oh, yes, this huge rupture happened and I can point to it and name it and I know what it is. For some of us, it's very complex. And that's where we get into like complex PTSD, where maybe there were repeat microaggressions in our
Yep.
lives, or maybe like we haven't had a massive traumatic incident, but there's just been little things we've had to grapple with, or little things that we've taken in to our worldview and our understanding of the world and our understanding of how life works, that we're conditioned and that we're not conscious of. And so sometimes it's getting into our unconscious conditioning and how we can reframe that to allow us to step into the unknown of what it is that we're trying to create in our lives.
Yep. And becoming aware of your unconscious thoughts that you have, that is so powerful. And it takes a while to learn it because it's something that you just have to become aware and basically point it out to yourself every time that you have, you know, your first thought. That always comes from your subconscious mind. And sometimes it's a negative thought. And if you're like me, I want, less negative thoughts every day. So it's just becoming aware of that thought and then immediately thinking and going, okay, what is a way that I can shift that thought to a positive thought? And that really helps a lot with my mindset.
Yeah. I think also something that can be fun to explore is exposure therapy. And I kind of joke that a lot of my life has just been one giant exploration of exposure therapy. I'll get into some of my personal narrative of that. But I think, it's helpful if we're noticing, oh, I have like a knee jerk reaction about XYZ being right or wrong.
Mhm.
How can you put yourself intentionally into the experience of the other and just explore, okay, where is that black and white framework coming from? Where is my deep discomfort? So I was raised in an extremely um, fundamental Christian household. I was homeschooled so that I wouldn't be tainted by the world. um, I was heavily fed a very clear black and white diet since a very young age of what is right and what is wrong. And this is the only way you can think, and everything else is satanic and evil. Like,
Mhm.
very, very black and white. And as I grew up and saw a lot of things in my household that were not black and white and that were not working and that were actively harmful, I realized, like, whoa, it was like that childhood awakening, like coming of age experience. Oh my gosh, like my parents could be wrong. Everything I've been told could be wrong. And so, as the rebel middle child black sheep, I just went out and started exploring everything I possibly could that was like the opposite of how I was raised.
Yep.
So yeah, unfortunately, I went into some less healthy experiences on this
Mhm.
exploration, and some
Yeah.
of them were harmful spaces, not safe spaces. And so, that is not great. And I don't regret any of it because I intentionally stepped into as much of life as I could that could show me the opposite and help me figure out, all right, this is what I came from. This is everything else that's out there. Where do I land?
Mhm.
And I'm not saying everyone should do this, or maybe not exactly in the way that I did, but I think it can be helpful to go, okay, if I'm having a unconscious sort of like a conditioned response to this is right and this is wrong, how do I go full 180 and explore, well, what does it look like to be in this opposite reality?
Yeah.
And so for me, that ended up being a colorful career in sex work um, for a season, which I no longer am in those worlds because there was repeat trauma happening there. And for my
Yep.
deepening healing, I needed to completely close that chapter. And to be honest, I'm very grateful for all the time that I spent in those worlds because it helped me to realize that it's not the black and white of Christianity. Um, but it's also not the black and white of how a lot of people in those spaces are existing. For me, what my deep truth and authenticity and my inner knowing has gotten clear on is that there is a sacred way to interact with humans no matter what space you're in, whether you're exploring a religious practice, you're in a strip club, or you're holding a coaching session. There is a sacredness to humanity and a beautiful like soul connection that can happen regardless of the nature of the space you're in.
Yep. Well, I gotta say, number one, good for you for being open about the things that you've gone through, because that's huge. Because
Yeah.
our stories are how our followers or clients connect to us. Because your story is something that others can relate to.
To be
And
honest, I thank you for saying that, and I am still finding my voice with that because it is very tender to talk about. And
it's
I
hard.
also don't want to just trauma dump on all of our listeners or trauma dump on all my followers. Like I believe there's a way to thread the needle here.
Yep.
And I know that there are probably other sex workers, whether former sex workers or current sex workers, who have that little nudge, that little
Mhm.
whisper of maybe this isn't forever. Maybe this isn't
Yep.
as good as it gets. And if any of them are listening, any of you are listening, I just want you to know like, first of all, I'm an ally. I respect you for all the choices you're making. Sex work is sacred. Sex work is the Lord's work too. And there's a lot, as I said, of sacred, beautiful human connection happening in sex work spaces. And there's a lot of harm. And it's not safe a lot of the time. And I definitely had to reach a point with one of my therapists where she really kind of called it out for me and said, you know, Blaize, like you keep coming in with these same wounds being triggered and activated. And there's like a level of boundary work in your life and healing and relationship healing that I know you want. And I don't know if you're going to get it when you keep going back into those same spaces and experiencing the same harm.
Mhm. Yep, exactly.
And it hit me really hard and I'm not saying that's everyone's experience. I do know sex
Mhm.
workers who have been able to stay safe, and I know sex workers who have been able to have like a level of disconnect or a level of um, compartmentalizing, I guess, with the work, and
Yep,
so it affects them differently. But I do believe that, yeah, sharing sharing is our real life stories is important.
it is. It's hard,
Yeah.
but it's necessary for us to help others.
Yeah, and it's
And
also not something I've ever been ashamed of doing or
yeah, that's good.
yeah, so I want to also just like represent that for other people too. Like it's not something to be ashamed of. It's a life choice and it's a profession.
Yep.
It's a profession as old as time and it's not
Yep.
going anywhere and it's very valuable. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because I recently had someone who's been a long-term client and attendee of many of my classes share with me that at one point in his life he had um, met with escorts and he had done that in a time when his marriage was really struggling and he needed that connection and that
Mhm.
care and he needed that and it was really beautiful to hear him talk about it and he didn't have shame around it either but he hadn't told anyone yet and then we ended up in this situation where we had just some time to speak privately and he shared this with me and he was like, you know, I've never been able to share this with anyone. And I just really want to tell you because I know I had seen you post about being a former sex worker and I just felt like you might be a safe space to just share it with. And to me, I'm like, oh my God, that is
Yes.
it. That is it right there. That is the whole reason why I do think it's important to talk about my experiences.
Mhm.
You know, maybe not the nitty-gritty of every
Yeah.
little thing, but like but honestly and at least somewhat transparently because I want people to feel safe to talk about the things
Mhm.
that they might feel taboo about in their other relationships. That's the
Yeah,
whole point for me of being in the coaching scene.
and that's so powerful because you had a client that was able to finally talk about something safely with somebody else.
Yeah,
And, if you wouldn't have shared your story, he wouldn't have known. And then
exactly.
he wouldn't have been able to talk about that with anyone, So,
Exactly. And it
and
was ultimately a gift to me as well because I got to
yeah.
revisit some of my memories as well and kind of keep
Hmm.
working through the narrative of like the lessons that I learned from that chapter. And it was a
Yep.
beautiful conversation. And we both honestly benefited from it, I believe. And
Hmm.
that's the magic.
Yep, it is. And it's empowering for others because you went through a lot, but in the end, you figured out exactly who you are and exactly who you want to be. So
Yeah.
now you're working on the want to be. Like you're going to be this person, so you're willing to put in the effort to get yourself to that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really awesome.
Thanks, Dave.
Ah, so cool. I love it when people share their stories. I love stories, and yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. I feel like it's really empowering and it's something that I am definitely still figuring out what my exact approach should be.
Same.
I recently just shared on social media this week that I'm actually fighting cancer again at the moment.
Really? I'm
Yeah, so I had
sorry.
thyroid cancer 3 years ago and it's come back. Thank you. Um, and I've been kind of dealing with this for about 6 months and kind of feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can talk about this online. But if I don't talk about it, then I feel like I'm just kind of showing up, phoning it in a little bit in a way.
Yeah.
I feel like so much of our society, there's like all these boundaries of like, yeah, keep your personal life at home and your work life at work. And it's like,
Hmm.
human with the most
Yep.
squiggly brain ever. I'm always experiencing everything all the time.
Yep.
And so to me, it's like, you know, I don't want my showing up on social media or on podcasts or anywhere to be done in a way that's just like, look at me and look at this thing I'm experiencing and everyone like go through this intensity with me like for the intensity or for the drama of it.
Yep.
Um And I do believe that there is a way for us as forward facing entrepreneurs and professionals to share in a way that empowers others and that lets them in on our healing journey and lets them in on
Hmm.
what's really going on. Because for a few months, I was just saying, like, things are kind of hard over here right now. And like my somatic practices are keeping me through. And they're kind of missing like the meat of how I'm actually applying it. And so if I open myself up and open them up to the actual story,
Yep.
like I'm dealing with cancer and this medical thing is really activating because, I'm having this fear of going back into this surgery that I had 3 years ago and I'm feeling it in my body this way and this somatic practice is specifically applicable because of this physical experience, then they can have this whole deeper aha understanding of how it works and why it's important. So that's my
Definitely.
goal anyway.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Thank
It's
you.
it's just it's good to show people who we are. Like I know, like people try to fake it online constantly. It's like no, just tell people your story. Tell people how you help people. Promote your business. Promote yourself, and just go. And don't be afraid of judgment because guess what? No matter what you do, right or wrong, good or bad, somebody's gonna judge it. So just get over that fear right now, because like I like it when I get haters online. Like I
Yeah.
like it because then it's like, oh, good, I'm getting attention. Like you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Well,
So
and honestly, like I'm sure someone has said this on your podcast before now, but I'll say it anyways. If someone cares that much to express that much frustration about your choice, it's
yep,
because it's activating something in them. It's
Mhm.
poking something in them that is so uncomfortable. And hopefully, if they're in the right space and they're conscious enough, they will realize, "Oh wow, here's something I get to explore now and I get to tend to." Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just keep spewing hate online.
Yep. Yep.
But ultimately, when we give people the opportunity to face their discomfort, we're really giving them an opportunity for growth
Yep.
and to discover what is it about them that maybe actually does agree deep down, and they're wrestling with that.
Mhm.
Um, I felt a lot of internal struggle around some of my friends' non-binary transitioning journeys because deep down that spoke to me.
Mhm.
And I had so many layers of like Christian guilt and conditioning
Yep.
to peel back before I was able to go, actually, when I see them owning who they are and embracing their gender fluidity, when I get rid of all the discomfort that's on top of that, there's actually a deep desire in me to name that for myself as well and claim that for myself as well and express that for myself as well. And
Yep.
so ultimately, even though in the moment, some of my friends at the time, I was like, oh, I don't get it. Like I keep messing up their pronouns and like, it's
Yep.
uncomfortable. Ultimately, their choice to go first and lead the way is what led to my freedom in accepting that in myself. And I'm so grateful.
I love that you're talking about this because I can relate. So I'm gay, and I didn't come out until I was 26 years old. And
Congratulations.
thank you. Looking back, I wish I would came out, way a long time ago. But as you were talking, I realized something like, which I realized this before, but I just made me think of it again. I used to be so uncomfortable around gay people.
Yeah.
I knew I was gay basically my whole life, but it was just I was uncomfortable because I couldn't be myself.
Yeah.
I didn't want anyone to know. Don't know why. It's not that scary. Anybody listening, if you're in the closet, just come out. It's not that bad. So, but yeah, I mean, it was so refreshing to come out, tell my friends, tell my family, and just be open. I don't, you know, post all over the place talking about it
Yeah.
because it's my story. If I feel I can share that, I will. You
Yeah.
know. So yeah. Thank you for sharing that because it reminded me of that time that I had.
Yeah. What do you think you were most afraid of before you came out? Like, what do you think was holding you back the most?
I was afraid just to lose my friends.
Yeah.
Like my family, like I wasn't concerned there. I'm really close with my family, and yeah, it was just friends. You know,
Yeah.
you got that fear,
Yeah.
and it's all learned over your lifetime.
Sure.
You're taught to be afraid of that,
Can I
and
ask you, did you lose any friendships because of it?
I did not. No,
Wow.
yeah, I got lucky. I got
That's
lucky.
amazing.
There are some friends that are more distant, but I wouldn't say that I lost anyone.
There was no
So
major rejection.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm. I'm
And like
happy
the
for you.
friends that I thought would be the most against it were actually the ones that ended up supporting me the most through it all.
Wow.
Yeah, that was incredible. Like that was just a shock to me because like they're the friends that say I don't like gay people, all of that. Our whole childhood or growing up together, and here I am. Can't tell them. And then I finally do, thinking that they're just gonna disappear, and then they're the ones that are call me to make sure I'm okay, see how things are going, and all that. So yeah, really
Really brings
crazy.
me to this idea of like a roadmap. So me and my now ex, someone I've been on and off in many different phases of relationship with for
Yeah.
many years. Currently an ex, who knows? We're very good friends. We love each other. It's complicated. Um, Today he was talking about um, wanting a roadmap, like, and specifically for us with polyamory, because I'm polyamorous, and that's been complicated for us in moments. And I think what you're saying about the friendship and like who's going to be there, who's going to judge, who's going to support, like, we don't know what's going to happen when we make the decision to be who we are out loud. There
Mm-hmm.
is no roadmap for that.
No.
Like, it doesn't matter what we see happen for other people, it doesn't matter what we think might happen. We don't know. And that is so scary to step into the
Oh yeah.
unknown. And what's beautiful is that on the other side of that is so much freedom and surprise. And like what you're sharing about these friends showed up for you in ways you didn't know. Like, it's scary because we don't know who it's going to be that says,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I'll do this journey with you, or no, I
Yep.
can't do this journey with you. I'm in a moment of kind of like shock and grief of someone who's saying they don't want to do a journey with me that I thought they did.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I'm sorry.
yeah. And it's okay because
Yep.
all we can do is keep being authentic to ourselves and our journey, and then
Mm-hmm.
holding space for others to do the same. And
Yep.
that is like the deepest form of friendship, love, romantic love, family love, any of it is saying, I'm going to do what is true for me, and I want you to do the same. And if that means we get to do it together, cool. And if that means more space is necessary, we will be okay, because it would be better to have more space between us and know that we're both living the life we really want than to censor
Bingo.
and put ourselves in boxes and constrict. And so that fear that you held on to for so long of like, I might lose my friends, it's like, whoa, when you actually stepped into coming out, like you got to see who wants to go on this journey with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
so much more valuable than having friends who are staying friends with you, but they don't actually know you.
Exactly. Yeah. I wasn't me. That's
Yeah.
a big part of yourself. You know,
Yeah, it is definitely. Our sexuality is a
that's
huge part of our
yeah, it's
identity.
pretty darn big.
Yeah.
And it's like once I was able to, embrace that part of myself
Yeah.
openly, my whole world just started to open up. And
Yeah.
I just kind of I kept exploring more things that I felt I wasn't being my true authentic self. There were
Yeah.
things that I would do that I was like, okay, why am I doing this? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to do this. So let's explore things that I want to do. And that's just kind of what led me down the road that I'm on now. It's like
Yeah.
I'm only going to be myself, who I want to be. I know who I want to be in the future, so I'm gonna strive every day to become that person. You know?
One of
Yeah.
the things I like to say sometimes when people get overwhelmed about the authenticity question, everyone says, be your authentic self. And like, I don't know, like, am I doing that? Am I in a cage of my own design that I'm not even aware of? Like, I don't know. Is just like each day we have the choice to step into as much authenticity as is available to us at
Mhm.
this time. So, like, I remember middle school Blaize telling people, like, you can't kiss before marriage, and like, this is my purity ring, and like being so on fire for Christianity and everything that I had been taught. And I look back at that and I'm just like, oh my gosh, how was that me? How that's like a different person. But at that time, I was being the authentic version of what I had to work with at the time,
Yep.
right? I hadn't been exposed to all the things that would eventually open me up to so many other truths, that
Mhm.
would become my truth.
Yep.
all I had was what had been taught to me, in the very
Uh-huh.
narrow framework of the world that I had been exposed to.
Yep.
And so I don't like regret that showing up that way. I don't shame that little middle school kid version of myself because they were being so loud and proud
Uh-huh.
about what they had to work with. And so I think like at any point in our journey, we should honor and celebrate that, you know, authenticity. We have the ability to be as authentic as we can in that moment.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
So,
agree. That's
yeah.
awesome. Well, you shared a lot of your story. I
Yeah.
love it because we got some of mine out there too, so that's always
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
And, how can the listeners reach out to you and work with you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Weeping Willow Wellness. My website is Weeping Willow Wellness, and I also write the Substack Artist of Everything, Artist of Everything .substack.com, and that's where I'll share sort of longer form ideas about how different somatic practices are applying to my life and how we might use them to relate to the world as it is today.
Amazing. Thank you. And I gotta ask you, so my slogan is your abilities are infinite. What does that mean to you?
I think just embracing that there's no cap to what we can do, what we can create, what we can embody. Um, I love it. It's beautiful.
Me too. Me too. All right, Blaze, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Nick. This was really fun.
If you enjoyed this show, please go ahead and share it on your Instagram story and tag me in it, the Nick Yerhart. Also, go ahead and share it anywhere else that you see fit, because the only way that I can grow this is by you guys sharing it. I don't sell anything on here. I don't have any sponsors, so let's just get it out there by word of mouth and help more people. Alright, everyone, remember your abilities are infinite.